We spend lots of time thinking, but what takes most of our headspace? Hi, it's Victor. There are some cute pets down there, and today we are talking about the last three dimensions of letting go. The first one is letting go of events. The second one is letting go of the struggle or the need to control. And the third one is letting go of addictions. And this is by design, because one of them addresses yesterday's, one of them addresses today's, and one of them addresses tomorrow's. Before going further, I want to read a tiny passage from this book. And I think it's very powerful and it will explain the whole idea of the video. It's actually a poem that's taken from the first chapter, and it was written by a famous Indian dramatist, Kalidasa. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. So, look to this day, for it is life, the very life of life. In its brief course lie all the verities and realities of your existence. The bliss of growth, the glory of action, the splendor of beauty. For yesterday is but a dream, and tomorrow is only a vision. But today well lived makes every yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Letting go of events is the first thing that I want to discuss. And now you can have the deterministic view, or you can have the view that everything is up for grabs. And either of those views can be correct. I'm not here to advocate for free will, I'm not here to advocate that everything is predetermined. I'm here to share with you that those two are not in opposition, okay? Even if you believe that a greater power dictates the thing that happened to you, you still have a wide array of ways in which you can react. And it doesn't matter that you had something happen to you like 2 or 3 hours ago. The next action, the next event is probably not going to be interlinked. So let's say you get a piece of good news. You signed up for some newsletter and you won a prize. But then in 2 hours, somebody in the parking lot accidentally pushes their shopping trolley into your car, and there is a small dent in the left-hand side of your car. So would you think that those two events are linked together? Would you think that there is a correlation there? It doesn't matter. Like, the answer to your question really doesn't matter. The whole idea is that an event, once it's past, it's gone. And usually when people are talking about letting go of the attachment to events, they are referring to the past. It's very easy to be drawn into the failures that were yesterday. And usually it's in a negative context. That's why I'm speaking of failures. There is also the other side, when people are just resting on their laurels and they're feeling on top of the world, even if the last time they achieved something of meaning was 5 or 10 years ago. Maybe they went to the moon, in which case, well, it's very hard to top that. Maybe going to the Mars would be a nice thing, but for them probably it's not the same thing. Like Buzz Aldrin, how can he ever top being an astronaut, right? It's very hard to do that, so it's fine in those very tiny cases. But for the rest of us, we tend to think, hey, we did something great yesterday, so I can slack today. Or, oh my god, something terrible happened during past week, so this week is going to be terrible as well. I'm not here to combat the first type of not letting go of the past. So if you're happy that something good happened, it's great because you can build on top of that. The negative part starts when you are on the downward spiral, when you are plunging, when instead of trying to save the plane, you keep going down and you cannot get out of that tailspin. So what do? You stop thinking of the past. You realize that each second, each day is brand new. Nothing that happened yesterday will influence the things that happen today. Okay, there are some caveats here, there are always caveats. So the fact that you probably had an argument at your work, yes, will definitely affect today. But will it affect you in 6 or 10 months? Not really. And that's a good way to put things. Another great thing to keep in mind is what's the worst that can happen. So we get so paralyzed of our mistakes in the past that we tend not to think of, okay, this is not as major as it feels right now. And I spoke about this in the first part, and if you want to watch it, here's a card there. I hope I'm pointing in the right direction. If not, there is definitely a card somewhere on the screen that will point you to that video. But in that video I was arguing that we keep those emotions with us for much longer than they serve us, and we should just let them go. We should just let them be and continue our existence. And I think it's the same with the events. Something terrible happened this morning. It doesn't have to ruin your whole day. It can ruin your first 10 minutes of the day, and it's fine. It's alright to feel the emotion. It's alright to perfectly feel that your life, that you were maybe wronged, but at some point you have to let go and you have to focus on the things at hand, because otherwise you won't see the tomorrow from the past mistakes or from the past successes. Either one is not necessarily great, right? It can hamper your chance of achieving greater things today. What I would like to add to end this is the fact that the things that happen, I do believe that they do not happen to you. They just happen. They happen to the world. They happen to so many people. On this earth, in this moment, there are at least a dozen people who are experiencing this. There are so many people who are going through very similar circumstances. And that's because we are what? 8 billion? 7 billion? Come on, right? It's almost impossible, due to the mathematics of it, not to have very similar circumstances with somebody else. And then you have to think, so many people experienced the same thing as I did. So many people experienced the same thing as I am right now. So they A, had to deal with it, B, managed to conquer it, and C, now they're in a probably better place than they were before. And those three things you should keep in mind at all times. So no challenge is big enough, to be fair. I understand there are some things which are entirely terrible, and I do not wish them upon anybody, and some of the worst things to deal with are disease or death or anything of that sort, and this is by no means trivializing things. It's just trying to say that, hey, those things happen. It's not because you were a bad person, it's not because you did something wrong. One of the things that cancer patients experience a lot, and I know this firsthand, they think that they did something wrong. They think that, hey, if I would have done something differently, then I wouldn't have gotten this terrible disease. And most of the time, it's not their fault. Okay, if you have lung cancer because you smoked, then yes, you could have done something differently. But if you have colon cancer, like, how can you combat that? How can you live your life differently? It's very tough. You shouldn't let this feeling of guilt just take over yourself, because that's even worse than what will probably happen. So I'm not sure if I'm making it justice here, but again, not every example is the same. I don't want to over trivialize things. So I think it's very powerful to understand that things happen to so many people, and you get this feeling by talking with many people and asking about their life stories, and you will see the resilience of people is amazing. So that's probably one of the reasons why I'm speaking with you. I know amazing things that can happen. I know destructive things that have happened to people and where they are today, and I'm getting humbled and impressed each day by their actions and what they went through and what they conquered and achieved. So I fully believe that you can do the same. Alright, so now that we ended with the emotional part of the video, let's go into thinking of the future, which is we have to let go of the feeling of control. And for me, or for the personality types that are very similar, that's very hard to do. We like to be in control. We like to ensure that things will go our way. We love winning, we love planning, we love strategizing, and we end up with 2 or 3 agendas that we complete on each Sunday at the end of each week, or maybe even each night. And in those agenda we are planning things for tomorrow, we are keeping on dreaming things, and it's very important. It's alright to plan, as long as that serves a functional purpose. But if that only creates anxiety, that's when you should let go of the things that you believe you can control. The truth is that we control way less than we think. So there are so many things that happen around us, and almost none of them we can control. Worrying about things that you cannot control is not helping. It's not helpful. That's probably the worst thing that has happened for us during this year. Humans are terrible with uncertainty. So this thing that's been happening is causing people to feel like they are not in control, that they do not know things. And that's the worst thing for our mind. We need this feeling of surprise, of meeting uncommon things, of exploring. But that doesn't mean that we need necessarily this level of uncertainty. Uncertainty of life, health, uncertainty of finances, those are not pleasant things. And having anxiety about them is normal. It's perfectly fine. What you can do is do today the best that you can in order to protect yourself from those things. And again, those are following the protective measures in terms of, maybe if you're thinking of financials, maybe having a good financial plan, maybe knowing where to invest your money in, knowing what to do, taking care of all the taxes and everything that you have to have in place, all the reductions, all the deductions, and all of that sort, all the financials. And then that's what you can do today. You do not know what will happen tomorrow. You do not know what will happen in 2 days or 3 days. And one of the things that I got from Epictetus is that the only thing that exists is today. Yesterday doesn't exist, and tomorrow doesn't exist. And he said in his manual that people are getting angry. They are saying that a young person died and he had so many days left to live. Those days were not given. Nothing is given. And tomorrows do not exist. Yesterdays do not exist anymore. The only thing that is here, it's today. So this is why the last thing of letting go is letting go of addictions. And those are things that affect us on a daily basis. They are things that we do and not necessarily by our choice. I will not go into the psychology of it. I tried to study addictions for the longest time because I had some of my own, and they weren't harmful if you think in a short term, but in a longer term, let's say playing 12 hours of a certain game, trying to be competitive, it was clearly an addiction to me. And it affected my performance in terms of what I could achieve in my career, let's say. And they wanted to get rid of it, and I wanted to understand it better. I think the best thing to do is to speak with somebody who's a professional in that case. If you do have an addiction, if an addiction negatively affects your life, I think the best thing that you can do is to try speaking with a psychotherapist. That's my first advice. The second thing, you could try and understand yourself. You could try and understand, what's my values, what brings me pain, brings me pleasure, why am I doing this? What does this satisfy? So for me, playing that certain video game, it satisfied the need of going into nature, the need of exploring. So I loved the immersive reality. I loved the fact that there were mountains, there were things that I didn't have in my city. So the best thing to deal with those is to actually get into nature. I started doing this when I was living in the UK, and I found that I don't feel the need of playing that game anymore. And it was astonishing because I had this natural reserve very close to my house, and I would travel to it, and 3 hours in that reserve, and I wouldn't feel the need to play for at least 1 week. And it was extraordinary. And that's why I'm advocating for you to try to understand yourself slightly better. But again, the first thing would be to speak with somebody who's a professional. But it's very important to let go of those types of addictions. And it's the anxiety that you get when you are not satisfying the craving. That's extremely real. And withdrawal is real too. It's again real with smoking, with alcohol, with drugs, with porn, okay, with maybe going to the gym too often, or eating junk food. Like, there are so many addictions right now, and anything that you do, and how I'm identifying an addiction is something that I do, that I want to stop, but somehow I keep on doing. I feel compelled to do it, even if I know it will make me feel terrible. I know it will make my life a worse place. So in that case, the best thing to do is not to watch this video, but to go to somebody that knows how to deal with those addictions properly. And those addictions, that's why I'm saying you should deal with them, because they hamper your ability to deal with today. Today we have to be focused on what we want, what we desire, and to just go for it. And if we have an addiction, that definitely takes of our energy, of our time, of our resources, and we don't want that in our lives. So to end this, thank you so much for watching. I think it's incredibly useful to understand that letting go of certain feelings and certain emotions is extremely difficult, but it's also extremely beneficial for us. Again, maybe the best example would be letting go of addictions. It's the most difficult thing that you can do, but the benefit of it, it's 100 or 200 times bigger than doing that certain action. I can achieve so many things in 8 hours rather than just playing a game in which I will never be a pro, I will never make money out of it. I can do so many things like filming this video. So if you like this, please like, share, subscribe, comment, tell me how you feel about it, tell me how you feel of those ways of letting go, and I'd be humbled to read your opinion. Thank you so much again, and there are some videos here I think, and yeah, we're gonna hear each other again soon. See ya!